ahead and get started and kick off Pause 2021 Saturday morning. As we mentioned last night, we are sorry that this can't be in person, but we are really glad that we're able to provide this opportunity, even though it isn't in person. We are excited that there's so many more of you joining us this year. We are on 2 pages of our Zoom meeting this morning. So if you can't see us all, you might need to do some scrolling to locate everyone. We have lots of presentations this morning. The first one will be starting about Texas Hands and Voices programming, as well as some other resources statewide and nationally. And then we are going to have 2 presenters join us this morning, both from out of Texas. One will be joining from New York and one from Israel. So during those transitions, we've built in a little bit of time to make sure those all go smoothly and everyone comes on. So there'll be some times built in for you guys to go take a break, get a snack, refill your coffee. If you need that, I know we probably all could use an extra cup of caffeine this morning. I see Melinda holding hers up. She is prepared. So yeah, Paulina, lots of coffee going on. So we're going to stop and make sure you get that extra coffee if you need it. Other than that, I want to stop and ask if anyone has any questions or comments or concerns before we move in to the first presentation. Okay, I do want to make note that because we have lots of communication accommodations today, if you would like to make a comment or you want to ask a question, we really do encourage that. We want this to be a discussion back and forth. We don't want to just be spewing information at you. The only thing that we do ask is that you announce yourself so that our interpreters and our CART providers can make that note as they're interpreting for you. So if you would like to make an announcement or ask a question or add to the conversation, please announce yourself and state your name before you do that. Okay, I think we are ready. I am going to pull up, I'm going to share my screen with you. We've got a PowerPoint that's going to share a little bit about Texas Hands and Voices programming and other resources we have. Sarah Smith and I'm going to pin both of us, actually, spotlight us so that you can see us both, as well as the interpreter. Now I have to go back and find myself. All right, so there should be 3 people on your screen. When I share my screen, the 3 of us are going to move over to the right just a little bit, but you should still be able to see everyone. All right, I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint, the first one. Is everyone able to see the screen? Teresa, I'm going to ask if you can make sure you're monitoring the waiting room and the questions, because it's hard to see when this is all up. Okay. So Sarah Smith is one of our Guide by Your Side parent guides, and she put together this wonderful resource table list that we want to share with you this morning. And we want to start by sharing a little bit about Texas Hands and Voices programming and what we offer families here in Texas. Most of you have probably found your way to Pause, P-A-U-S-E, through the way of a parent guide within the Guide by Your Side program. So I want to take a minute to share a little bit about that program. And if you have a guide and you want to tell us how pleased you are with them, or you want to shout out to your guide, if you see them here this morning, feel free to add that in the chat box. They've done a really great job of keeping you all aware of what's going on, and Pause was one of those events. So a little bit about Guide by Your Side. Guide by Your Side is a program under Texas Hands and Voices, and what we do with Guide by Your Side is provide free parent-to-parent support through what we call parent guides and or deaf and hard of hearing guides. So our parent guides are parents, just like you, who are raising deaf and hard of hearing children. Our deaf and hard of hearing guides are deaf and hard of hearing adults who live the life of a deaf and hard of hearing person and are able to share those perspectives with you about what it's like raising a deaf or hard of hearing child and give you some insight into their life. Our guides are able to provide you with resources. They're able to provide you with emotional support, with support in general. They can connect you to the deaf and hard of hearing community. They can connect you to events, whether they are Hands and Voices events or otherwise. That is what we do at Guide by Your Side. We can help you understand what school processes or early childhood intervention services look like. Really, it's kind of just that the purpose is in the name, guide. They guide you through this process, whatever that process might be, or where in the process you might be, and what your needs are at that time. There are instances where we don't know the answers to things and we just are not sure, or we don't know the answer to a question you're asking us. And that's why one of the things we do as an organization at Texas Hands and Voices is have those collaborations with our community partners through medical professionals, school personnel, early childhood providers, so that if we do run into an issue that we are just not that versed about, we can reach out to those professional collaborations and those partners and get that insight for you and connect you to them, and they'll be able to kind of help you in those next steps. So we're proud and happy to have those kinds of collaborations as part of what we do at Hands and Voices, so that we can make sure that our families are supported comprehensively through whatever type of support you might need. Our guides serve all of Texas. They are in 10 different areas across the state. You don't need to live in the area where a guide lives. Our supports are normally virtually. That means we can support you by text message, by phone call, by Zoom, by FaceTime, by email, whatever works for you. That is predetermined between you and your assigned guide. Signing up for a guide is very, very easy. There's a form that you fill out and asks you a couple of questions, just provides me some insight, and then I make the match to your guide. The same is true for our deaf and hard of hearing guides. Again, you are not matched based on geography, but shared circumstances or where you are currently in your journey. I want to introduce the guide team quickly to you. I'll just tell you who they are and where they live. Let me switch over here and make sure I don't miss anyone. We have 9 guides. 3 of those guides are Spanish speakers. Our first guide is Terry Myers, representing the El Paso area. Corey Smith, our deaf and hard of hearing guide, representing the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Sarah Smith, our parent guide in the Houston area. Portia Celestine, our parent guide in the Beaumont area. Juliana Trujillo in the Wichita Falls area, Spanish-speaking parent guide. Sandra Lopez, deaf hard of hearing guide in the San Antonio area. Paulina Pena in the Valley, Spanish-speaking parent guide. Tracy Stonescu in the Greater Austin area, parent guide. And Lana Nissen, parent guide in the Waco area. And I, Michaela Hamaker, also a mom, am the Guide by Your Side coordinator, and I live here in Austin. We do have an ASTRA program, which is an educational advocacy program, and we have our ASTRA coordinator joining us this morning, and I wanted to give her just a few minutes to tell you a little bit about that ASTRA program so that you guys are aware of that. Sarah?
Good morning. My name is Sarah, and I am the ASTRA program coordinator. It is early. I am one of the night owls, so if I sound like I've had a lot of caffeine, it's because I have. Our ASTRA program, ASTRA, let me start there. ASTRA stands for Advocacy, Support, and Training. And we are the educational advocacy piece of Texas Hands and Voices. That could be anything from working on the transition from ECI to preschool, to helping you understand how to go through the IEP process, and even helping navigate that transition to college and what those resources and accommodations might look like. I've got a great team of advocates that work one-on-one with families, and all of our services are, of course, free to you. In addition, we provide regular trainings. Right now, of course, those are all virtual, where we really walk you through the basics of all of the federal and even state IEP and the IDEA is what we call it, law. So if you've ever sat in one of those meetings and felt like you were just getting hit with alphabet soup, then that training is definitely for you. Most importantly, what I want you to know is that if you're not sure if you need help from ASTRA, or you think you just have one silly question, please reach out. We are happy to help research. We are happy to help you determine whether you really need an advocate or you just need a quick question answered. We also love working with professionals. A lot of the questions and calls we get are from teachers and speech therapists wondering about how certain things work. So if you go to the Texas Hands and Voices website on our ASTRA page, we also have a great resource link with hundreds of documents that could be helpful in your advocacy search. So when in doubt, please reach out and we are here to help.
This is Michaela. Thank you so much, Sarah. As Sarah mentioned, ASTRA is a free service, as is Guide by Your Side, and we service families in the Guide by Your Side program from birth through the age of 21. And ASTRA services all the way through that educational journey with your child. Okay, we want to share a little bit with you about where you can find us on social media. If you haven't already found us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All of the links are down here and you can access those. Sarah did a beautiful job of linking those, so all you have to do is click on those and they'll take you directly to that. We have a couple of pages that might interest you. We have Tuesday Topics, which is the first Tuesday of every month, which highlights a different topic each month on our chapter's Facebook page. And it is a live chat, if you will, from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time with different topics each month. And we encourage you to take part in that. Join the discussion, or as they say, lurk if you'd like. If you don't want to contribute or add to that, we certainly don't mind you just taking a look, peeking, and taking it all in. Outside of the chapter's Facebook page, we have a family and friends page. That is a closed private page, which is a little bit more intimate. There's some questions that are asked there before you can join, just to make sure that you're going to adhere to the rules of the group. But that's a more intimate group where people are sharing lots of questions and asking things of one another. We just recently had our Deaf and Hard of Hearing guides develop a Deaf and Hard of Hearing guide group, which is a safe place for you to ask questions of Deaf and Hard of Hearing adults. You can check that out. And for our Spanish speaking moms.
Hold on a second. They switched interpreters and I think they were missing can't see. Sorry.
Okay, 1 second. Let me find the next interpreter. Here we go. There she is. There's Vanessa. Let me highlight or spotlight. Vanessa should be spotlighted. You can see her now?
Yes, they can.
Perfect. Thank you, Shelley.
You're welcome.
There is a Spanish-speaking Facebook page for any families that are interested in that and would like to check that out. We are funded. Texas Hands and Voices and the Guide by Your Side program is funded with our partners at the Statewide Outreach Center, which is at the Texas School for the Deaf. We are very proud of that collaboration and that partnership, and also very proud of the programs that they're able to provide families. Some of those programs are the Family Signs program. That is a sign language program able to be offered to you in signing exact English, American Sign Language, and even access for our Spanish speaking moms and families. That's a free program done virtually in your home with your own instructor at your own convenience for the schedule that works best for you. Another program that they recently started there is the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Mentor Program. That is able to connect you with a mentor who is deaf or hard of hearing. Actually, the hard of hearing adults are role models, not mentors. The deaf mentors are able to provide you ASL instruction as well as access to deaf culture. And the hard of hearing role models are going to be able to give you insight into their life and just kind of help you understand what their life is like and give you some insight into how they live day to day. That program currently is birth to 5 years old. There is something very exciting that happens every year at Texas School for the Deaf, albeit last year and this year, those things have had to become virtual due to COVID. Yes, that pandemic is still around. That happens once a year, the first week of the summer at Texas School for the Deaf. The coordinator for that happens to be on the call this morning, so I will let Shelly Bergeron give you just a little bit information about Family Weekend Retreat. Shelly, sorry for putting you on the spot, but you are here.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to let the interpreter sign for me. I will be quick, but our registration just opened yesterday, so feel free to go on in and sign up. This year, it's Family Week Retreat. We are going to kind of have a hybrid of what we normally do because of COVID. We are going to have live stream sessions for 5 nights, May 31st through June 4th. We will have live presenters on Zoom webinar. You'll be able to ask questions of them. We're going to have some really great presentations. I'm really excited about that. And then we will also have pre-recorded sessions. You'll be able to watch for an entire month at your own leisure when you want. Those will open on May 31st also. And then we're also going to have local family events from 12 to 2 in 12 different places around the state. You'll be able to see those online, what locations they are. But we are excited about that. You'll be able to sign up and go to those local places so you can still meet other families like yourselves. We're really disappointed we can't do it and all be together this year, but we're hoping that at least this will be something. And of course, this allows us to change things as needed due to COVID restrictions if we need to. So everything is free. Whatever you sign up for, it's all covered. So we're really excited. If you have any questions, just let us know, but we hope that we'll be able to see you at Family Week Retreat this year.
This is Michaela. Thank you so much, Shelly. Another program, I was going to say, if Shelly, could you put the link to Family Weekend Retreat registration in the chat box? That just opened yesterday, so we want to share that information. Another service that they offer at the Statewide Outreach Center is Birth to 3 Specialist. They have a parent-infant program that is part of the Statewide Outreach Center on site at Texas School for the Deaf. But if that is not something that would work for you and your family, they do have a specialist there that's able to help you with any needs that you might have for your child birth to 3 in the area in which you live. We have some other resources we'd like to share with you. So Sarah Smith is going to spend about 5 minutes sharing those resources with you. Sarah?
Good morning, everyone. So there are a couple of funding help agencies if you need any kind of financial help in speech therapy or hearing technologies. So you can check those out. They also do many support groups and events and things in their areas. And then if you could move to the next one, Michaela. The National Deaf Center, that is a really great resource if you have teenagers and they're going to move to transition into careers and college. And also they recently added this great game, interactive game, just kind of real life scenarios called Deafverse. It's great to check out. And then the Office of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services, they offer many, many great opportunities. And we have a webinar actually coming up, I'll mention later, that will explain this even more in depth. But they have deaf and hard of hearing technology specialists that will help you find things for the home that are really helpful, like doorbells and alarms. And then the deaf and hard of hearing access specialists includes things like going to appointments and getting captioning, CART, interpreters, going to court and getting all of those things that you need to support communication. And then they also have the STAP program, Specialized Telecommunications Assistance Program. That helps people access the telephone networks with special equipment or communication devices. So that it has kind of a wait list. So if you have a child who would need a communication device, that's something to look into pretty soon. And then the tuition waiver for Texas state colleges and universities, if you meet eligibility requirements, they will waive the tuition portion of college or universities. And here's a whole bunch more resources. We usually have a table out at our pause when it's in person, and these are just some things that we like to highlight. So check those out. And then Texas Hands and Voices is sponsoring some webinars coming up. March 9th, Early Childhood Intervention. If you have birth to 3, this would be great. May 11th, that's the one I mentioned with the home tech and access specialists and all the other things that they, all the other programs that they offer, they will highlight all of that. And then our Texas Hands and Voices programs one in July. So I'm hoping that you guys can sign up and join one of those or all of those, whatever applies to you. And then we have great events coming up, like Shelley mentioned, we have the week retreat this summer, and then kicking off the summer. And then in March, Thursday evening in March, we will have a family event virtually with a kids craft and our teacher toolbox focusing on literacy. So I'm hoping that y'all can join us for that too. So thank you.
Awesome. This is Michaela. Thank you so much for that, Sarah. The PowerPoint that we just shared with you was included in that email. So if you have some time or you want to look at some more of those resources, please go ahead and take a look at that. All right. I want to welcome Rochella and Hannah, who are with the Statewide Outreach Center. They are going to be chatting with us this morning about summer programming that happens there. And so I would like to turn that over to them and they can share a little bit about that with you.
Hang on 1 minute. Let me pin her. Oh, I can't pin Rochella. Michaela, can you make it so that I can pin her?
So that you can pin.
I need to be able to, when I voice for Rochella, I can't see her. She's small and I'd like to make her big. And I don't have control over that. I only can chat, it says. Yeah. No, I can't see you. You're small. So hold on 1 second.
Is that better now?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay, we're ready now. Sorry. Okay, so if you don't understand something that I say, please make sure you interrupt me and clarify. Yeah, so hi everyone. This is Rochella Moore, and I'm the coordinator for the summer camp program. I recognize some of you. Some of you have sent your kids to camp, and I'm so excited that we're going to end up being able to have a summer camp. We'll have both in person and virtual. And yeah, we have a bunch of different camp programs, a total of 16 different programs. So we have a long list. I'm going to try my best to, visit or go to each program. Hannah is my right-hand person. She's the one who answers all the questions. And if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt or place it in the chat, and we can go ahead and expand on a concept or explain more. I have my notes here, so that's why I want to make sure I cover everything. That's why I'm looking over to the left here. Okay, so I wanted to explain briefly about myself. Again, my name's Rochella, and I graduated from Maryland School for the Deaf, as well as Rochester Institute, which is where I got my bachelor's degree. I moved to Austin, and I recently started a family. I have a deaf daughter named Maxine, and now I'm expecting my second baby. Yeah, I'm very excited. So the summer camp program, I want to take the opportunity to go ahead and explain to you the difference between summer camp and the summer program. It really is kind of based on age. That's the biggest difference. Summer camp is age 3 through 8th grade, and summer program is ages 14 through 22 years of age. So that's the main difference between the two things for summer. This summer, we'll offer both virtual and in person. And so you can first decide in person and then later on say, oh, but if I change my mind, can I go ahead and switch over to virtual? And yeah, that's no problem at all. So if you want only in person, that's fine. If you want only virtual, that's fine as well. We'll make it work. For in person, we have a limit of 10 spots available. That way we're going to go ahead and follow COVID, protocol or whatever. So we're going to only have a limit of 10 in each program. So registry, April 1st. Most of camp is $225 per week, but we also have financial assistance, and you can go ahead and fill out the application. You'll get a 20% reduction in the fee. That we also have 2 different camps where they can stay for the weekend. One has to do with being there in the week, and then the other one where you stay over the weekend. And then that one is $75. And that includes, sleeping arrangements, food, everything they need to stay. The overnight stay, because of COVID, some camps, we're going to go ahead and require that they stay overnight. But with the younger group, like, 3 to 5, the tiny Tots camp, we're not going to require them to sleep overnight. Kindergarten to 2nd grade camp, they're not required to stay overnight either. 3rd grade and up, then they'll be required to stay, to make sure that we make the right approach and everyone stays safe and we're able to handle that. I want to make sure to emphasize that I have for Hispanic parents, Spanish support. We have a specific phone number and a way, if you have any questions with registration, And the phone number is 512-743-7972. Yeah, and someone can go ahead and, type up the information. The Hispanic Family Support. Yeah, I'll go ahead and share my screen now. Any questions so far from anyone? Okay, good. Okay. I think I lost someone. Oh, I can't see you guys anymore when I went ahead and shared my screen. I'm not sure what to do. Let me see here, hold on. Oh, I can't see you when I'm sharing my screen. I can't see you guys. How can I set that up so that I can see everyone and share screen? Okay, I guess I'll just go ahead and sign what I wanted to say. Okay, so the groups are based on age. 3 to 5 will continue for 2 weeks, and that's half day, and they're called Tiny Tots Camp. We have 2 kindergarten to 2nd grade camp groups. One is a science camp, and one is an arts and crafts camp. Then we also, oh, you froze. Hold on, you froze. Also offer what? Oh, a swimming camp for all different ages, from kindergarten through age 18, based on age, the groups are set up. And then we also have in El Paso, yeah, we have that in El Paso. And so we're really excited about that camp. And also we'll offer lifeguard. Oh, guard, I'm sorry. Lifeguard, yes. Lifeguard certification, and training for, the deaf teenagers who are interested in becoming lifeguards and, working summertime. The swimming camp will offer that for all, swimming camp for all ages, and lifeguard training is for age 14 to 18 at the El Paso, just in El Paso. We have 3rd through 5th grade camps. Deaf That camp, deaf culture immersion. For that camp, it's a lot of fun. A lot of kids really enjoy that. So it's one of my favorite camps that we offer. So it's really enjoyable. You can see how the kids grow and identify themselves and become proud in, with their deafness. And it's a really cool camp. The crafts and cooking, Central Market. And we have a chef teacher there who, help make pasta from scratch, pizza dough, and it's super fun. That's a really fun one. And also there's an exploratory camp. You go outdoors, get different experiences with that. It's off-site in an area. The camp is called Buccaneer, yeah. Buckner, thank you. And it's in Burnett.
Burnett, Texas.
Thank you for your help. And cool camp. You stay there for a whole week, and we have fishing, and we have blob and rope a ropes course and, slides and with, in the lake, and really cool bonfires and, all like the whole camp experience, how to build your tent, how to, start a fire. And so that's exploratory camp, and that's what that's all about. For middle school, we offer 3 different: Deaf That, STEM, VEX Robotics, where the kids will learn, how to build like robots and other games, team building. There's online and in person. Mock
Tournaments.
mock tournaments. And now we'll move to the summer program, and there's a lot of different camps there. So there's the deaf self-advocacy training. And that will help kids to start to, realize how to, set up relationships with their VR counselor, apply for FAFSA, FAFSA, learn how to apply for that, how to request interpreters for job interviews, all different, skills that they need, for their future and to become more independent. Building My Lifestyle. It's a 3-week program, and it's really neat. Every week there's a different theme. The first one is it's again
Interpersonal.
interpersonal skills, and then a financial, like
Literacy.
what was that?
Financial literacy.
Yes. How do you check your credit score? And, there's also a cooking, where you learn how to cook, and lifestyle as far as, exercise and staying healthy. And then that's 3 weeks. So there's 3 different themes, but it doesn't mean the kids have to go to all 3 weeks. They can choose, 1, 2, or all 3. Outdoor education. This is another one we have, and that's for 5 weeks. It's a 5-week program, and the kids who join will get actually paid every week. It's the same as conservation, corps, where they go to different states, like national parks, and they work and build roads and, set up all the different, things, how to improve their appearance and how they're able to improve, just the appearance of the park and with all the different national parks. They help with that. There's a deaf person there whose name is Sachiko, Sachiko, and the founder of a nonprofit organization called Corpse. So really, it's amazing. That person's been running the program for a while. And then we also have the STEM at NASA. It's adopted with NASA. And the last one is working on college, coursework and organizing for college. It's very similar with the deaf advocacy, but you focus on working on your college plan. Oh, I'm sorry. And there's one last one. And there's driver's education for teens as well as adults, 2 different programs. So I tried to kind of, make that as specific as possible. And, if you have any questions, you can always ask now or through email. Thank you so much for your time and for listening to me. And I look forward to seeing some of you and your kids this summer.
Thank you so much. I do want to say, Rochella, we have a question. One of the moms wanted to know, does the child have to know sign language in order to attend the camp?
No, you don't have to know sign language to attend camp. We encourage all kids, different backgrounds, different communication styles. Yes, everyone.
Thank you. And I think you wanted to add something else. I wanted to give you a second to add that.
Oh, the registration is going to close on April 1st. So it's open now until April 1st. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys being here with us this morning. Okay, we are going to take a quick break. If you do have questions about anything we mentioned this morning, or you have questions for Rochella about summer programming, those contacts are in the email that I sent out to you. So as she mentioned, feel free to reach out to them if you do have any questions. Okay, thank you, Rochella. Thank you, Hannah. We appreciate you being here. You are welcome to stay if you'd like, but if you want to get on with your morning, we completely understand. Thank you. All right, we are going to take just a few-minute break. We actually were expecting Karen Putz to be in by now, and she hasn't joined yet. Karen Putz is our next presenter. So we're going to take about a 5-minute break, and I'm going to see where Karen is, and we'll see you guys back here in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, this is Michaela. I want to get everybody back. Give everyone a minute to head back in. I'll wait to see some of these videos turn back on, so I know you guys are ready.
This is Teresa. Miss Karen, are you with us? I'm not seeing her on the screen.
This is Michaela. I don't think she's in here just yet.
I know she's coming on though.
She is, yes. She sent a message that she's coming on, so we'll give her just a second.
This is Tiffany Sanford. I can't start my video. It says I can't turn it on.
Okay, hold on a second. Maybe we must have.
There you go. We see you, Tiffany. There is Karen. I just saw Karen enter our waiting room. She is coming on. There she is. All right, hang on. We're going to pin our.
Hi everyone. I kept thinking today was Friday. I'm so sorry. I guess we will dive right in.
That's
I'm
fine.
So sorry. This is just lovely ADHD in action.
You are fine. I do want to make sure.
You're good.
I want to make sure, are you wanting to voice for yourself? Are you wanting to interpret for our interpreters to voice for you? I'm not sure what you would
Let
like.
me add, most of you are hearing, right? Hearing moms. I will go ahead and speak and let the interpreter interpret. So I'm going to pull up this slide. 1 second.
Perfect.
Miss Karen, this is Teresa. So glad you made it this morning. I want to also let you know that we do have Spanish interpreters on the line that are interpreting for our Spanish speaking moms.
Do you guys want me to pause for Spanish translation in between?
Let me check in. This is Michaela. Let me check in with our Spanish speaking guides, Terry and Paulina. Terry, how has the interpreting been going on the Spanish end? Is everything okay as we've been doing?
Yes, we're good, Michaela.
Thank you, Terry. Perfect. Okay, then, Karen, we are ready to move on.
Awesome. So, hello, everyone. I'm Karen Putz. And my story in a nutshell, I'm going to start from the beginning, is that I was born with normal hearing. And I grew up hard of hearing. Extremely ashamed of being hard of hearing growing up. So even though I had a deaf mom and a deaf sister, my only measurement when I went to school, people who could hear. So when you measure yourself against somebody who's very different from you, you always come up short. And that was what was happening to me growing up. I had one single hearing aid and I hid it. Didn't want anyone to see that hearing aid. So when you try to hide a part of yourself, every single day, a little part of yourself dies inside of you. And all of us as moms and as leaders, sometimes when we try to hide that little piece of ourselves from the world, a little part of us dies too. So today I'm hoping that when you walk away from this, that you walk away embracing who you are and really step into your own leadership abilities, your own strengths, and really celebrate your differences. That's what I'm hoping that you guys will get today from our time together. So going back to the age of 19, during high school, I discovered the sport of barefoot water skiing, which is basically water skiing on your bare feet, no skis. And I fell in love with the sport, absolutely loved the sport. And then one day, on a Sunday, I turned across the lake, splashed into the water, and in an instant, I became deaf. Just like that. So struggling all these years trying to fit in as a hard of hearing person, and all of a sudden, I'm deaf. I no longer, I definitely don't fit in, couldn't function, could no longer hear without a hearing aid. So I got lucky. I transferred to a college, and at that college, I met other deaf and hard of hearing people for the first time in my life. But I was still struggling because couldn't lip read my teachers in college. FN system was no good for me. So it was a real struggle. I had some dark, dark moments where I thought I didn't want to continue. And I woke up one day realizing I had two choices. I could continue to struggle, or I could change my attitude. I could embrace the journey. And when you embrace the journey that's in front of you, you start seeing things in a whole new different way. Change your perspective. Suddenly the thing that you were scared of, you're no longer scared of. The thing that you hated, you start to love. And that's what happens. For many of us who come to this journey by surprise, maybe we've got our baby and our baby brings us down this journey for the first time, we can choose how we react to that journey. And the quicker that we get into that place of celebration on the journey, the more our kids thrive. So our goal in Hands and Voices, all of us working together, we're working towards that goal of getting families to embrace the journey. Now, it's getting families in that place where they see the positive stuff of having a child who is deaf, hard of hearing. Now, fast forward to the age of 44. I got back on the water again for the first time. And why am I telling you this? It's because I want you, when you leave here today, to think about what you are passionate about. And I want you to embrace that passion at a whole new level, whether it's in your work with Hands and Voices, whether it's being a parent, whether it's the journey that you're on. I want you to take that passion and amplify it in your life, because what will happen, amazing things will happen. People will come into your life. Hang on, that household here. Kid with no hearing aids. So that's what I'm hoping that you will do. Take that bar of passion and run with it. In the top right corner up there, you see Fine Thanks. That's a documentary that I'm in on Amazon Prime. You know, I was on the Today Show. I've written several books, and I share that because of one lesson that I learned from a mentor. And that mentor said to me, Karen, when you embrace your passion, people will come into your life and they will open doors for you. Things will happen on your journey that you never imagined experiencing before. And all of you are here today because of the journey that you're on. Now, this is my family. I always say that the most important job title I've ever had in my life is the title of mom. I wanted to be a mom since I was a little kid. My kids are everything to me. All three of my kids were born with normal hearing. One by one, they became deaf, hard of hearing through a gene in our family. And the gene in our family is so extremely rare that we are the only United States family with this gene and the only family out of 4 families in the world with that gene. So all of my siblings are deaf and hard of hearing, all of my mom's siblings, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, all of my kids, and a niece and a nephew. So when my youngest kid was, I think, 3, we got a computer. And I'm sitting at the computer trying to find resources as a parent, because now I have 3 deaf and hard of hearing kids. And the resources out there were extremely biased. Then I found Hands and Voices. And I loved it and I embraced it because I grew up with listening and spoken language. I embraced sign language. I had some friends who cued. And within the umbrella of Hands and Voices, all of that fit. Leanne Sieber was the executive director at that time. Asked me, will you lead? Will you form the Illinois chapter? And at first I said no. I was afraid. I thought I was not qualified. I'm just a mom. It's too much work. I have 3 kids. What? Are you crazy? Where am I going to find the time to lead? Can't even do my own laundry. So I said no. Then I stayed up all night long, thinking, why not? Why not you? Each one of you today, why not you? If you think about it, when we think about the word leader, it sounds so up there, so prestigious, so beyond what we as moms or parents or even professionals think we are. Now, this slide here is all those thoughts that was going through my head. Hang on, something in the chat. Okay. Oops, let me go back. So these are the thoughts going through my head. And maybe you felt those thoughts too. Somebody asked you to get involved with Hands and Voices. But all the time throughout our experiences, we are leading every single day. Every decision we make, every person we unintentionally influence, by the things we do day in and day out, people see us as leaders. When you're a mom advocating for your child, you're leading. When you were talking to a group of people, you're leading. When you're in your car, you're leading. So it goes down to why not us? And how can we be the best, most passionate leaders we could possibly be? Now, next slide here. The one thing that holds almost everyone back is fear. Fear is probably the biggest #1 barrier that we have in our life. Fear stops us from being bigger than we are. Fear stops us from doing things because we're scared. It stops us from stepping into bigger roles because we're scared. Now, for me, you see me sitting on an alligator there, and here's the story behind it. When I first got to Florida at the age of 44 to get back on the water for the first time, I'm standing on the dock in front of the word barefoot champion, in front of the word barefoot champion, the word barefoot champion. Yeah, so I'm standing at the dock in front of him. And I said, are there alligators in the lake? And he said, yes. And he laughed. And I'm like, now you should know that I am definitely afraid of alligators. And here I am about to get in a lake where there are 650 alligators per square mile. Thank God I did not know that. So those are moments in our life where we have fear in front of us, but what we want is behind that fear. Will we take that chance and go right through the fear to get what we want behind the fear? We are tested with that every single day of our lives. Many of us, we let the fear win. We've got to think about what's behind the fear that we really want. Do you want to serve 1,000 families a year, but you're afraid to get up there and speak? The only way around fear is smack dab through it. Now that guy sitting behind me is an alligator, a professional alligator trapper in Florida. He's also a barefoot water skier. So one day we were supposed to go barefooting and he tricked me and said, we have to get over this fear of yours. Come on, we're gonna go in the backyard and play with an alligator. And he knows that I am a life coach. And he knew that he trapped me in a corner because if I said no, and I stand up on stage, or I'm in a coaching position and I tell somebody, you can get over your fear. He is the only person on this earth who knows I'm lying. So I didn't have a choice. I had to face my fear. And I sat on that alligator for, I think, 3.5 seconds. But I did it. And I shook for about 2 hours afterwards. So I want you to think about what is this one big thing right now that's holding you back from getting on the other side of what you really want most. Think about that today. And then I want you to map a way that you can go right through that fear to get to what you want on the other side. So let's think about what we do at Hands and Voices. I'll give you a second to read that. Why does our motto matter so much? Because in all the years that Hands and Voices has been around, the one thing stays constant for every family. If it works for your child, that choice is right. And no choice is set in stone. This is our why of helping every single individual family to find their way on their journey in a way that is right for them and their child. When we stay focused on that, the other stuff doesn't matter. The communication arguments, the technology arguments, the stuff that goes on in our field does not matter when you stay focused on every individual family and building a better system for our families that uplifts and uprises every individual family. I'll let you read this. So let's think about what your families need the most. What do they need? Three things. They need a safe place. What's out there may not be safe for them. May not be a safe place for them to explore, may not be a safe place to share their feelings. They need a safe place that honors where they are on the journey with their feelings, their resources, their culture, their practices, their individuality. They need that safe place. They need trust. They have to be able to know that when they reveal something, when they share something, that it's trustworthy, that you will honor where they are on the journey and not exploit that. And they need a judgment-free zone. Sometimes it's the hardest thing for us to do as parent leaders, as individuals, as part of Hands and Voices, is to not judge. We're human. We're human. But if we can remove our feelings and our thoughts and look at the family and recognize where they are and honor that, that is the most valuable thing we can do. It's take the journey with the family, not for the family. So I wanted to share a story about Lollipop Moments. This is from a man that I met several years back named Drew Dudley. Drew Dudley. Dudley. Yeah. And Drew shared a story with me. He was working at a college and the students were lined up on the first day, and he saw a young girl who looked really nervous and out of place. And she had a handful of lollipops, so he goes up to the girl and he taps her on the shoulder, and then he goes to the guy behind the girl, gives him a lollipop, and he said, "Can you give it to this girl?" And the girl takes it from the other student. She's laughing. And then he looks at the girl's parents and he said, "Would you look at that? The first day on campus, she's already taking candy from a stranger." And he's laughing and he moves on. Years later, he gets an email out of the blue from this student. She had married the student who gave her the lollipop. He didn't even remember the moment. Yet it was a moment that influenced this girl and that guy and the trajectory of their life together. That's what's called a lollipop moment. We as leaders may not remember the moments that we have with our families, but our families may remember those moments forever. We may be changing families' lives and not recognizing or understanding that impact until maybe even years later. So throughout your day, you are a leader having lollipop moments because of your leadership. And that is a wonderful thing that can impact families years and years down the road. In the early years of being a Hands and Voices leader, I used to struggle thinking I had to be neutral. And a lot of times people, when they describe Hands and Voices, they would say, oh, Hands and Voices is neutral about communication choices. Nothing could be further from the truth. You know, so people, when they think of neutral, we don't show any interest or favoritism about any communication choice because we might be biased. We show no interest in any technology because we might be biased. We can't go to any schools or campuses because that shows bias. We keep saying, oh, it's your choice, and then we don't guide people at all and just say, hey, I'm out of it. It's your choice. You figure it out. Sometimes that's what outside people think Hands and Voices is. And that is not true. Hands and Voices is everywhere. We're in Truth Speech camp, ASL camp, listening and spoken language, we're ADT therapies, we have speech therapists in our lives, we're teaching sign, you name it. That is Hands and Voices, all of it. If it touches a single family, it's Hands and Voices. Now, I have a shirt that says got ASL on it, and I wear it all the time. You know, my family uses ASL, we use spoken language. Someone came up to me and said, Karen, you work for Hands and Voices. How can you wear an ASL shirt? And I want you to think about this. Go back to the meaning of bias. The meaning behind bias is the intent to manipulate. If my shirt said all children should learn ASL, that's definitely crossing over into bias. But we have the freedom to celebrate where we are on our own journeys as parents, as professionals, as deaf and hard of hearing adults in the system. We cross over into bias when we intend to manipulate it to sway somebody's path. Okay, so I want you to think about this. A lot of times people would say, oh, Hands and Voices is too much hands. Hands and Voices is too much, you know, too many old people, or this or that, or whatever it is. You know, they don't have enough of this or not enough there. We have got to get away from that thinking and embrace this instead. Hands and Voices is whoever comes to Hands and Voices, regardless of where they are on their journey. That's a much different way to present Hands and Voices to people. The table is big enough for all of us. We took that. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, I misunderstood our audience here. Not realizing that all of you are moms from all different walks of life. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so with moms, we've got passion with what we do. So let's talk about this really quickly about what is passion. Now we'll do it here. In your chat box, could you tell me what is passion? Define it. Tell me what you think passion is and how you define it. got to share for a minute. Okay. Reading them. The passion is something strongly I care about. I need to chase after a thought, an idea, or an action. Caring about something deeply. What is passion? Loving something you do with your whole heart. Purpose? Something that brings you joy, it gives you the drive to get up and go each day. Something you can't stop thinking about. Something you do with your whole being, and something you give your all. A strong feeling or emotion you feel towards something, enjoyment and happiness. Strongly caring or loving something. Feeling joy about something that you want to do. Something that excites you and animates you. A strong desire towards or for something. That's a good. Let me pull this up again. Okay, let's go back. This here, my journey does not define your journey. This is so important as a parent. It's so easy to lose our way as parents when we compare. When we compare our journey to somebody else's journey, we can get lost on the way. I want you to think about this one. Think about your journey as mom, as a parent. It's your journey and your journey alone. And how you choose to do that is completely up to you. I'm gonna move on to this a little bit. The screen here. Can any of you relate to this? Some of you are nodding your heads. COVID threw us for a complete loop. We did not see this coming. As families, we've had to completely change our course in how we parent, how we get through the day, what we do, how our deaf and hard of hearing kids get through the day. Just doing some of the basic stuff every day has completely changed for many of us. And it has thrown us completely off course. Checking the chat. Okay. Here's the impact. When you read this list, cognitive. You guys hearing something?
This is Michaela. Yes, I do want to ask if there's someone that's not muted, would you please mute yourself? Thank you so much.
Everybody hearing something? Okay. So when you look at that list, cognitive overload, why? We're not getting things from where we got them before. We're getting everything from a screen now. We're tired. Zoom fatigue is a real thing. Some of you may have even gotten on today thinking, oh my gosh, no. You know? We have a new kind of stress, new kinds of worries. The lack of human contact is really taking a toll. The fear, the unknown, what will happen when my family stays safe, things like that. We'd have to change the way we live. Some of us, you know, it's been very difficult. For us as a family, going out with masks on, a nightmare. We've had to rely on apps. We've had to rely on different ways of communicating that we didn't have before. All of this takes a toll on us daily, but there are 3 things you can control. Okay, I'm gonna stop with the through it. You can always control those things. Response to your thoughts, how you choose to respond to what you're thinking, your attitude, and your action. You always have that control. We talked about passion. This is the best definition of passion I've ever seen. Passion is your joy. It's your sense of who you are, and it's like tap water. Turn it on and it flows. It's a gift. You have to unwrap to find it. But on the other hand, passion is being willing to suffer for what you love. Seems ironic, but think about this. We are parents, right? We are willing to get up at 4:30 in the morning to feed a baby. We are willing to drive 20 miles for dance lessons. We are willing to cook 5-course meals for our children. And we're willing to go above and beyond as parents. We are willing to suffer because we are passionate about being parents. So you're being willing to suffer for it. And here's the thing, there's 5 levels of passion. Passion always begins at the first level of what are you curious about? Now, we lose our way as parents because there's so much juggling going on. We lose our way. So to go back to digging out passion, start with what you're curious about. Then you learn more and more about it. You get excited about what you're learning. Then there's an awareness of, I like this. This is good for me. But that recognition is the highest level of other people seeing what you are passionate about. So really quickly, what is the why of what you do as a mom? What keeps you going? What's your why? Go ahead and type that in the chat box. Many of you are sharing the why that drives you, your children. Something bigger is what drives you. The why is always something bigger. So when you lose your way, remember your why. And I want you to think about sometimes our negative stuff that happens to us in life end up being our blessings. You know, for some of us, maybe having a hard of hearing child may have done a negative thing at first. Then you turn around and you start to see the blessings. We would not be here today together if we didn't have that gift that brought us together, that blessing that brought us together. So I want to challenge you when we're finished today with our time together is to think about what are the blessings in your life that you have because you're going down this journey. I wanted to share Texas Hands and Voices here because that is one common thing that has brought you guys all together is being parents of a child who is deaf and hard of hearing. You're on this journey together because of that common bond that has brought you all together. So when you are tired and you are weary, and things are too much, it's time for some vitamin R to rest, to review, and to renew together. Sometimes you just need a little bit of a break. You don't need to quit and walk away. You just need a little break. You need some rest. You need to review. Am I putting energy in a way that grows? Or am I wasting time with negative energy? Then you need to renew your heart, renew your passion, renew your commitment. Know whether you're advocating for your child or helping another family or just getting through the day, rest, renew, and review. At any given moment, you can change the direction of where you are going. And think about one thing that you can do differently tomorrow. If things are not working well today, what's one thing you can change for different tomorrow? And also think about where are you putting your attention, on passion or problems? You can choose this every day, which direction you want to take. And there's always 3 things that are gonna guide you: kindness, compassion, and empathy. If you dig into those 3 every day, it will guide you to become a stronger parent, a leader, somebody with an impact. Those 3 things. Now to wrap up, this is a word that some of you have never seen before. It's called genshai. And it's simply the practice of never treating another person in a way that will make them feel small, including yourself. A lot of times we say stuff to ourselves that we would never say to another person. Success may look like chapter 23, and you may be at chapter 1. What's really happening may not look like success at all behind the scenes. Think about that. Never compare your chapter 1 to somebody's chapter 23. I'm gonna skip this because we're out of time. But I wanna tell you that the small stuff matters. Even on the days where you feel like you're not making any progress, you're just getting through, remember, you're making memories for yourself, for your children. You're making memories every day with what you do together and as a family. And your work matters. Whether you're a parent leading, whether you're a parent just being there for your child, you are the spark of hope, love, and kindness that turns around the system a family, or another child. A lead from within. You don't need the title of leader to lead. So, thank you guys for being with me today. I believe we may be out of time. If you have any questions, Michaela has my email. Feel free to email me. I'll put it in the chat.
This is Thank you so much, Karen. We're so thankful that you made time out of your Saturday to come and chat with our moms. In true Hands and Voices fashion, our goal is to turn all of these moms that are here today into leaders. And you may not have realized that you are going to be thrust into a position of leadership, but when you join the Hands and Voices family, that's what we do. We're there for each other. We're there for other families. Those of you who are starting out on the journey, you're going to be meeting other moms who need you, who are going to look to you for guidance. And we're thrust into this position of leadership. So we're excited that Karen shared a little bit about her journey of leadership with us today. And I do want to let you know that Karen is also the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Infusion Coordinator for Hands and Voices. So if you have any questions about deaf and hard of hearing adults questions specifically, in addition to our Guide by Your Side deaf and hard of hearing team in Texas, Karen will have lots of good insight for you as well. So I just want to take one more minute to thank you, Karen, for being here. We have some comments thanking you in the chat box about your leadership and how inspiring you are. And I want to echo those same sentiments. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you, everyone. And one of the comments I want to share, let me see, right here. Sometimes leadership just means being a friend of one person and it matters. From Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. That's a great way to wrap up. So thank you all today. I'm so sorry I was late, but I'm so thrilled we have this time together. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so we are going to take just a few minute break. I'm excited to say that Dr. Saperstein is on the call with us. We will Saperstein. We're going to introduce her to you in just a few minutes, but we are going to give you about a 5-minute break. So if our interpreters want to take a moment, if you want to grab a snack, something to drink, maybe a restroom break, we will get back with you in about 5 minutes and we will get started with our next presentation regarding the FIG, F-I-G method of advocacy. So see you guys in 5 minutes, 10:48. Thank you. Hello again. This is Michaela. We're going to get started here in just a minute, so I'll wait for you guys to get back. Get your cameras turned on so we know that you are ready. We'll wait just a minute. All right, I see people joining us, cameras turning back on. Perfect. Okay, we're going to move along here. Before we move into our next presentation, I just want to point out, I know last night we did some icebreakers and we kind of chatted a little bit about where we are in the journey, if we know a lot of other families that we can connect with, and we were kind of able to see where each of us were answering that. I want to take this opportunity to say, if there is a mom that you've seen or that you think might be kind of in that same position where you're at, or you're relating to something that she has said, feel free to private message one another or to send each other a message in the chat. Take that time to get to know each other, connect, and make some connections that can go beyond the weekend. That is our hope. Our hope is that not only are you able to connect with us, and we'll gladly try to make those connections with you to other families, but that this has served as an opportunity for you to meet other people that maybe will extend beyond the weekend. So take some time to reach out to each other privately or in that chat box and get connected. Okay, we're going to move into our next presentation. We are very, very excited to have with us today Dr. Lilac Saperstein. Dr. Saperstein is joining us all the way from Israel this morning our time, not her time. She is an audiologist that helps families navigate life and parenting at the intersection of hearing loss, special needs, and other chronic health challenges. She is the host, as you can see by her title, of the All About Audiology podcast, which has been downloaded over 30,000 times. She's on a mission to help parents connect with and advocate for their children. From her speaking engagements to her clinical work, she's working to empower thousands of people with information and support in their time of need. She is going to be sharing with us today the FIG, F-I-G method, and help us with tools where we can process, grieve, and understand for our own families. We are excited to have her with us. As I mentioned, she's busy doing all of this stuff while she also has a husband and is raising 3 bilingual daughters herself. So Dr. Saperstein, I want to say welcome to you this morning. We are excited to have you, and I am going to turn it over to you. Oh, I do want to add, Dr. Saperstein, we have Spanish interpreting, ASL interpreting, and CART. So there might be just a little bit of time every now and then where we have to move pins and get interpreters where we need them and that kind of thing. So just want to let you know.
Sure. And thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to join everyone. And if I talk too fast, definitely send me a little message because I can get really excited. Okay, so the other technical thing, I popped a link to see the presentation. Did you want me to share that as well here, or how would you like me to do it?
This is Michaela. Dr. Saperstein, if you could share, if you feel comfortable doing that, we can ask you to do that.
Okay, so that we are share screen. Make it, well, where is it? Present. Okay, can you see me? You can see the screen, you can hear me, you can see me.
We are good.
Okay, perfect. So today we are talking about advocacy. And this is one of those words, advocating, advocacy, that sometimes can feel like, oh my gosh, this whole other thing that I have to now learn and do when you are in already juggling a lot of things and having so many different hats as a mom or dad who has a child who's diagnosed with hearing loss, or you're in this world and you're deciding about communication modes and educational placement, and you're learning all these new words and appointments and there's so much going on. And then someone says, well, you should learn to advocate. And it's like, what does that mean? What do I do? How do we get there? So what I found in a lot of my work, both as an audiologist, I worked in a school, I've worked in clinic and hospital, cochlear implants, hearing aids. I did like all the different little places you could be. And I saw across the board with new parents and parents dealing with it for years, everybody would come to this question of how come nobody is helping me with this part? You're an audiologist, you should be able to help me. And then, you do some self-reflection and you see, I am an audiologist, but I learned a lot about how to program hearing aids. I took courses and courses about audiograms and testing and cochlear, all the technical things, and very small sections about counseling, about how this affects the whole family unit, about helping parents to connect with their children. And I saw that gap, and that is where the podcast was born and my work and talks like these. So that is what I'm trying to hone in on, and to tell you that as a mom as well, I just felt like, where is the humanity in all of the interactions we're having? We need more of that. All right, so we're gonna jump into what I developed to try and make it a little bit easier to take a lot of the different things we learn and just make it very practical, so that when you're in that situation, you know what to say, you know how to advocate for your child and speak up for them. And that is the FIG method, F-I-G. And I just have figs, and you're gonna see figs all over my presentation because I like to eat figs, and it's just one of those things that sticks in your mind when you have like an image, a reminder, and that will just help you, a mnemonic device. There we go. I can switch the page. Here we go. Oh, and also if anyone has any questions or anything you want to add, I have a little chat open, so go ahead and do that as well. Okay, so what is the FIG method? It can be applied in any situation where you have to talk about your child's needs or their rights. And, I kind of hesitate to use the words like you are their voice, because we never want to take their voice away. But definitely in the beginning, when they're teeny tiny, you are the one speaking up for them and needing, to get the things that they need. And as they grow, those roles kind of mesh together, and then hopefully in time they take over that self-advocacy. But in general, in parenting, we do a lot for our kids before they could do it for themselves. So we want to model that as well. And like I said before, it's not something you just automatically learn, like, hey, welcome to Hands and Voices. Now you're an advocate. Like, how did that happen? It's not automatic. We really do need to kind of go into this together. So now that I've piqued your interest about the FIG method, we're actually going to take a little pause. And I know you've been on Zoom for many hours already and the whole year. So we're just going to take pretty much 3 minutes and come into, a lot of what I heard Karen speaking about right at the end, about like being here and being present and trying to take in as much as we can. So we're going to take just 3 minutes where I ask you to take a deep breath and remember, what are we doing here? Why are you even on this Zoom call on a Saturday when you didn't have heat for like 2 weeks and we've all been praying for you and know you're going through a lot? Like, the whole world is watching you guys and sending love and prayers. So let's just do that for ourselves. Okay, so one deep breath, maybe find your feet on the floor or wherever they're sitting. Remember that you have legs. Like, we're not just disembodied boxes in Zoom. We are here. We have our legs on our floor. Maybe you feel your shoulders come down just like 1 millimeter lower than they were before. And if you like, you can close your eyes, but you don't have to. It's chill. And I want you to think of your child, your special one, the reason you're here, and just see their face in your mind. Maybe see them smiling, notice them doing their favorite thing, bring that to mind, what they like to do, the funniest thing they said recently, just get all those warm and fuzzies. Maybe you even feel it in your chest, like just thinking about them makes you remember what this is all about. And that's it. Okay. So like anyone who's not into meditating for 45 minutes a day, like that's not a thing. This is enough. Even 1 minute, 1 second of like, oh yeah, I have shoulders. They don't have to be up here. Like, I'm always like, go, go, go. We can take a breath in the day. And oh, let me tell you, that has come in handy in my life when everything is happening at once. And I say, I don't need to like go take a 7-minute break or go on a 3-week vacation. Wouldn't that be the dream? It's like literally 10 seconds. You could reset and just come into it. So let's keep going. Now that we decided how much we love our children and have this warm, fuzzy feeling, now we're going to go into the other side of remembering when somebody in your life said the thing that they said that made you angry and confused and hurt and annoyed and like you are going to come at somebody. Maybe it was a Facebook comment and someone said, what are you, da, 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 da. All these judgmental moms, you know them. They're in those groups. You write something and then they write this thing like, who are you? I don't even know who you are. Or maybe it happened in the store. We know that the store has been a very hot button place when we can't do anything else but go to the store. So that's basically where everything's happening, in the parking lot, at the checkout. I wonder if you can hear my husband doing bedtime. Everyone's out there, but maybe it's just loud for me. Excuse me, sorry. Maybe it was your mom or your mother-in-law, even better, like someone who's in your life who is in the decisions. Oh, they don't need those hearing aids. Oh, you're making a big deal. Or maybe you're trying to learn sign language and they say, that looks so weird. Don't do that here. Like, oh, all the different things people say. I'm just bringing examples, but it's probably already in your mind and you're like, oh, that person, what they said, and you feel it in here, in your gut. All right, so I want you to think back about that. And I'm going to give you a minute. Think about, it could have been years ago, and maybe it's popping up and you're like, even though it was 15 years ago, I remember what that nurse said, what that doctor said. Maybe it happened yesterday. Maybe it was a text message. So we're here to talk about that because like I said before, it's fun to be in the positive mindset. It's great to be looking at the silver linings. But when you are in the middle of a snowstorm, a thunderstorm, a raging sea, like you need to also get help and figure out how you're going to navigate the storm. So we're going to address a little bit of that storm. And if you have a notebook or you want to just write in yourself. Oh, yes, definitely. You could have a few, not just one incident. We're going to tackle some of them. Yep, for sure. Okay. So, that's such a good point. Sarah says also that some of them didn't make her mad until after she learned more. And I was like, back then I didn't understand how hurtful that was. That's so true. And we're always doing this kind of work. Yeah. So if you don't mind, let's write a little bit about what this interaction was about. Tell me what happened, or tell yourselves, write it down. What happened? Who was it? What did they say? And then we are going to get into the FIG method. Ta-da! This is the grand reveal. So you won't be left in suspense for too long. We're going to talk about the 3 elements of the FIG method and how to know what to say. The F is for familiarity. And familiarity is to say, who is this person? Do I know them? Who are they to me? What is our relationship? Is this a family member? Is this a stranger? Is this someone that I need for educational, like is it their teacher or their IEP person or, something like that? Is this a medical interaction? So we first just want to, like, when we're looking at this difficult situation, come up here, just like kind of look from the top, get outside of it for a second and say, who is it? And who is this to me? What is our relationship? And how invested am I in this relationship? Okay, and then the I, and we're going to go through each of these much more in detail, but let's do the overview. The I is where I ask the intent. What did they mean? What were they trying to do? What was their point in saying what they said? And we're going to see that sometimes people say things because they didn't understand what's going on. They're ignorant about an issue. Sometimes they say things because they're thinking only about their problem and what it means to them. They're not actually about your kid. It's just totally their story. And other times, well, we'll talk about, all the different intents that people have when they say things. Sometimes they're trying to be hurtful. That happens. And last in the FIG method is the goal, your goal as the mom who is here to protect and defend and speak up for and love and do everything you can for your child. What are you trying to achieve in this moment, in this interaction with this person? That is the FIG method. Now we're going to dive in even more. Okay, Sarah, we're going to come to your example later on. Thank you. Okay, so let's see again. So familiarity. This really, and it kind of starts to get you thinking about what were the different, especially if you said you had a few things come to mind, which is definitely normal, like to start to categorize what were the different things that came up. So when something happens with your spouse, it's going to have a lot of different meaning and different weight if they disagree or they criticize or they have a different opinion on what's going on. When it's an in-law, a sister-in-law, I get that one a lot from people also. Like, they're someone who's close enough, but also has some of that distance. It's like the sister-in-law, the mother-in-law, the cousin, like holiday get-togethers with someone that's not normally in your life, but they're family, but they, it's kind of that thing. We talked about if it's a doctor, a teacher, is it a random lady at the grocery? Is it your friend, someone who you really trust? And then they say something that hurts you a lot. Each of these is going to have a very different flavor, if you will, characteristics to what you need to bring to the interaction as well. Is this a child's therapist that, they literally have a professional qualification for an opinion and you might disagree? That's allowed. Okay. They're experts in their expertise and you're an expert in your child. So then now we have a conflict sometimes. Of course, it could be their audiologists who all audiologists don't do things the same. Lots of audiologists have very strong opinions on things that maybe are outside their scope or, maybe they don't have time that day. And the way they said something was so harsh and so quick. And to them, not that I'm excusing, but I'm just bringing some of this to your awareness that, an audiologist might have seen 15 children in that day. And to you, it was the most important half hour of your life. So there's a mismatch there as well with the surgeon, maybe the ENT said something. Okay, and all that is going to be different if it's your best friend, someone who really knows you and really cares for you. So that's where familiarity is. And we want to first think, well, what is my familiarity with this person? So that when it happens that you get a Facebook comment, your nervous system, your body does this, like, let's go. You coming at my kid? No, you're not. And you want to like write back at them your thoughts, but you can kind of say, wait a minute, FIG, familiarity. This person, this relationship, there isn't one. I don't know this person, or fine, they're in a group with me or whoever. And then you can make your decision of what you're going to do. And we'll get to that in intent and goal. But it helps to just start up there, start at FIG. And, if it happened at a holiday party, God willing, we should have more parties and more holidays where we actually get together, hopefully. So, and it's like everyone's getting gifts and your child is being left out and someone makes a mean comment and like a whole slew of events are happening throughout the morning. And it's your mom, like who is their grandma, who loves them, who wants, there's a relationship here, there's history here, there's love, there's good intention. That's going to be very different how you advocate in that situation versus this Facebook thing. It's very common with the Facebook thing, I have to say. All right. So any questions on that? Oh my God. I'm just reading this comment from Melinda that actually, I'll just read it. She said that a doctor said, I'm impressed with how far you've come considering your disability, where sometimes the person, this is actually a perfect segue for intent, where the person actually thinks they're giving you a compliment or thinks that they're trying to be nice. And what's underneath that is such hurtful assumptions. Like when people say like, you're not like other XYZ. You're not like other moms. You're not like so you're insulting all moms now? Is that where you're going with this? So thank you for that comment. That's so true. So that brings us into intent, what people mean when they say things. Sometimes people say things out of love, and they really love you, and they really are trying to protect you, and that's what they think is right. So very, very common story as a cochlear implant audiologist, when I worked in the hospital, you'd have two parents. One parent says, like, sign me up. When are we doing this? Like fast track to cochlear implant. And the other parent says, wait a minute, this is a surgery. This is a big deal. I want to learn more. And their timelines are not the same, or they're completely disagreeing. And they're both trying to protect their child. They are both loving their kid. They're both coming out of love, even though they're doing opposite things in action or opinion. So that situation is out of love. Maybe sometimes this one we didn't mention yet about children in the playground, or, you know, other kids at school who say, what is that? And they just have never seen a microphone, that you have a microphone and they have a device. They've never seen a cochlear implant or any of the other things. And this goes for, you know, I talked before about leg braces, or if they, you know, have a feeding tube, or all the things that kids might have never seen before, except for when meeting your child. So it could really be curiosity. And it might be, sometimes people say things where they think they're coming out of respect, like before, they think they're trying to be respectful, but it's really not hitting the mark for you. It's like, nope, you said it really rudely. Sometimes they're totally ignorant. And the one that I think a lot of parents overlook in medical interactions is about the professional trying to cover themselves legally. Okay, like a nurse that has to sit there and tell you all the horrible things that could happen. And you're just like, why are you telling me this? It's horrible. But they have to check that off. It's the legal requirement that you should be informed of the risks. And there's ways to do that. There's ways for the nurse to do that and frame it like, here's the list, and other ways where they're like boogeyman at you. So, you know, to think of what is their intent. And again, it does sometimes come out of malice. You have mean-spirited, hurt, evil people. Not going to sugarcoat that. That really does happen too. So a lot of times when people say, well, maybe they didn't mean it, they kind of mean this, like, let's think of where they were coming from. I get it. We could ask that question, and I have it in the FIG method because it is important to know what were they trying to do. But I don't want to stay there, because sometimes people say that advice and then expect you to just be like the most open-hearted, loving person that like forgives everybody for their bad behavior. No, especially when you need to act and protect your child and advocate for them. So that's why I just put intent in the middle, and we go there for a second. We ask ourselves, do we know their intent? Do we know where they were coming from, just to frame it and know what kind of energy to bring to it ourselves? So we've gone to familiarity. Who is this person? What's my relationship with them? We've moved to intent of what were they trying to do? Why did they say that? Where are they coming from? And finally, we get to the most important thing, which is the goal. And that is, what do you want to do? What do you hope to get out of this situation, interaction, encounter? Okay. So at sometimes your goal is going to be to keep your child safe. And if somebody is hurling rudenesses at them, then you want to put a stop to that. You're going to say no more, like, especially if it's, of course, their physical safety or other words, but also their, you know, how they are in that space. Are they safe here? Are people going to not give them the proper directions? Like, I know someone mentioned this about a child who was at a rock climbing activity place, you know, indoor rock climbing. And the instructor was not giving them the proper directions. They weren't facing them. They weren't making sure that they were communicating all that properly. And so the parent, of course, had to step in and keep their child safe about, hey, you need to make sure you know how to use all this rigged up stuff, right? So sometimes that is what you need to do right then and there, is step in and make sure it gets like communicated properly. And other times your goal might be to leave and exit. Like, if this is a party where there's going to be food that is that they're allergic to, they're going to have a dangerous allergic reaction to, you need to get out of that environment. So your goal there is, again, like a safety. You need to leave. And other times, then your goal could be, I need to educate here. So this is where the relationships with family and people close to your child comes in, where, you know, they keep saying these things that maybe are very hurtful, and they weren't at the appointments with you. And they didn't sit there in the booth hearing the sounds that the child didn't hear. So to explain to them, you know, I've been going through this journey of what this means, how much our child can hear or doesn't hear, what that means for their education, what these devices are, why we're doing this, why we made the decision to put them in this school or that school. And so sometimes it is a place of education where you need to help the other person see why you've made the decisions you have, because this relationship matters to you and you want to educate them. So again, that's why we have these 3 steps of the FIG, starting at familiarity, because it's a question of how much do I want to invest in this relationship and this encounter, compared to, is it my job to answer every Facebook message that comes in that is rude and ignorant? Like, not every single one, unless that's what you want, unless your goal is to educate the world, maybe. But to make that decision consciously of how you want to engage with these different encounters. Okay, and then I also spoke about salvaging an important relationship, right? When you feel like there's really become a main focus conflict with someone that you do want to maintain a relationship with. And sometimes that could also be their teacher, because you're going to spend 10 months with this person very closely involved in your child's life. So you can't exit. Maybe you could switch teachers, but whatever, you know, you'll have to see what the options are and how you're going to manage this. So speaking to their teacher, who's going to be their teacher for 10 months, is going to be different than the person in the playground, the lady at the store, and family. Each one is going to be different. And I also wanted to talk a lot about advocacy in the point of IEP, getting services, and medical situations where your goal is to get the best care and services. So even if the person uses language that you don't agree with, or, you know, says things that hurt you and irk you, maybe at the meeting isn't the greatest time to bring that up and then derail the conversation when you really need to make sure they're going to get the services. So having those clear goals and knowing what you want out of it is going to make it very clear what you should say and where you're going to go with the conversation. And the last one I put in there is revenge, again, because we are people, and sometimes people hurt you and you want to hurt them back, I'm sorry to say. And that's part of parenthood too. That's part of life. You know, nobody asked you to be a saint because you're a DHH mom, you know, or because now you're like on a pedestal, like, oh, I don't know how you do it. That's the one that gets so many people. It's like, well, what do you expect me to do? Sometimes that's one that you hear a lot. And you know what? Sometimes you are allowed to hand it right back. When someone says the thing that you just, you know, Sally, every time I walk in here, da da da. And that's life. Like, but you should know that you have made a decision to put this person in their place. And you know that is a choice you're making, and it didn't just like bubble out. And sometimes you wish you would have said that at the doctor or to their teacher, and then it comes out on your spouse. Right. So that's why I put it in there, because we're humans and we want the best, and we do want to interact positively with everyone we can and do the best for our kid. But this is also your journey. That's also a huge part of my platform and the podcast and everything I talk about, is that you, every single one of you beautiful boxes right here, total humans, you yourself are going through this. And your child is the one getting services and devices, et cetera, whatever you're doing with them. And that's going to be their story. But you also deserve time to understand what's happening to you and how this is affecting your relationships and your life and your marriage and your finances. There I go, talking fast again. I keep trying to slow down. Okay, so I want you to know that there is room for your part of this. And you deserve that. So that's why we're here. Okay, let's switch Yeah, the one with the lines. Okay, so there's one with lines where you can fill all this in, and I hope you have. So this is a fun part where we are going to ask someone brave to be the sharer. Okay, we'll get to that after. And I'm also going to read the chat, which I was missing. So let's see. Okay, I want to talk about Tiff's comment. Tiff wrote, my daughter's reading and language arts teacher during their annual IEP meeting said, it would be unfair to the other students in the class if my daughter received the vocabulary or the topics in advance. Thank you for sharing, Tiff. So let's talk about this for a second. We're going to start with the F. We're going to do the FIG method on this interaction. The familiarity with your daughter's language arts teacher is an important relationship. She's going to be her teacher for the year, maybe more than 1 year. And the situation is the IEP meeting. So this is kind of a high stakes moment, not just an encounter with someone in the hallway, whatever. And what the teacher said is, oh, I can't accommodate whatever accommodation, getting the information ahead of time, because that would be unfair to the other students. And my first question is, were there other people in the room who made comments to this? Or was it only you who's now defending? Like, was there other staff who came in and said, hey, teacher, that's not how accommodations work? But if you're the one who has to be the one to do that, okay, so we talked about who they are and the familiarity. And now the question is, what is their intent? And to think about that for 20 seconds, the teacher is thinking to herself, I have 30 students in my class or whatever. And you're giving me extra work. You're giving me homework that I have to have things ahead of time, that I have to remember to give you the words in advance. And, it could be that she's thinking to herself, this is a lot of work. I don't know if I want this, maybe like guesswork, because we can never know what anyone's intention is. It's just a game, right? It's kind of a game of thinking, maybe she's thinking, yeah, I don't want the workload. Maybe she's thinking, and she actually believes this, that no, all children should be treated equally and no one should get any head start. And in that case, it would be, maybe your goal here would be to educate and bring in a few things. Say, A, accommodations work in a way where, yeah, it's not equal because they have different needs. And then you could bring in that beautiful visual that we sometimes see about, different kids standing on different levels to see over the fence, saying that, like, sorry, let me start again. There's this image that I've seen going around where the kids want to see over the fence and the kids are all different heights. So one kid needs 3 boxes to see over the fence and one kid needs 2 boxes and one kid can just look over the fence. And so they say that's kind of like when we give accommodations. But really what we need to do is take down the fence. And then everyone just has equitable access. So it's kind of the difference between like equality and accessibility. But anyway, that was just a little tangent there. But maybe that's what the teacher needs some training on, training on what it means to have a child with special needs or an IEP at all. Maybe this is the first time she's had a child with an IEP in the class. So when we kind of come through all these IEPs, it's different. And it doesn't feel like Mrs. Blakely is such a terrible teacher who doesn't want to help my kid. And it looks different. It's okay. She's never had to do this before. She's overworked or she doesn't know about accommodations. The mom, here we go. My goal is to educate and to get my child that service because she needs it. So, to come in with, this is where for sure having a guide, I'm sure that Hands and Voices has different advocates that can even come to these meetings with you or prepare you for these meetings to know what your rights are. And now that you know what your goal is, you can come more prepared and you can try and speak up for that. I wonder what happened, Tiff, if you can share what happened at the end for this. And in the meantime, while Tiff is typing, I would love to invite anyone else. You could even open your mic and let us know. I'm also checking the time.
Okay, it's Tiffany. I'm a little not very good at Zoom, but I kind of,
Where are
the
you?
accommodation was that vocabulary had to be provided
Mhm.
in advance. And that went into the IEP. However, it was, weekly follow-ups with the teacher to try to get her to do that because she really wasn't on board with doing it. So it took a lot of follow-up.
Got it. Thank you for even giving more context. So then you had to kind of send her weekly emails or like, hey, tomorrow's the test and you still haven't given us the words.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I wonder, just again, without knowing everything, but sometimes when we see what the situation is more clearly with the familiarity, the intent, and the goal. And the goal here is you want the words ahead of time. You want your child to get that accommodation. So you can see, is there a supervisor, manager, I don't know what they call them in schools, the head of the grade, like the service coordinator or whoever that you can get involved because the teacher is not in compliance with the IEP. And even knowing words like that you could put that in an email and CC the principal or, different things like that, where it's not just you texting them, you directly one to the teacher. But that is very frustrating. And that's, something that a lot of parents are not going to have to deal with. So when it comes to like the whole point in my mind, in my teaching the FIG method is so that you can take that deep breath and know, okay, how do I get what we need? How do I get what we want without it being the baggage of every negative comment you've ever gotten in regards to this journey or this kid or your feelings about it. So I think it's great, Tiffany, thank you again for sharing to talk about a very concrete, important accommodation that you needed from this teacher. And what I would love if anybody else wants to share something that was more personal or the family type, because those are very sticky. So if anyone wants to open their mic, become more health teacher. Oh, and Sarah also mentions here that sometimes in the situations we can be an advocate for more support and help for the teacher. Because look at that. If you can become a partner with the teacher and say to them, you and I together, let's go to the board and whoever and make sure that we get the funding for whatever we need. This is a great example is about the FM system, that many times the teacher who uses a microphone in the classroom, you sell it to them by telling them that they don't have to yell as much and it's good for their voice. It's actually to their benefit. and sometimes teachers come on board because they realize that it's actually easier for them to have, if they have a sound field, if there's a microphone in the classroom for all the kids, that actually helps everybody. And then now you're partners in that endeavor. But that is so true, Sarah. Please go ahead. I thought I saw you open your mic. If you have something to say.
This is Sarah.
Hi.
I know something I have dealt with and I know other people have dealt with is family members saying things, especially with our hard of hearing kids. Oh, they hear fine. I don't know why you're going through all this fuss. My mother used to like to walk up behind my child and clap her hands and say, see, he heard me.
Well, thank you very much, Grandma. We really appreciate that. And I'm very glad you brought that up. Okay, so I need to tell you a story. This is my favorite short story to share recently. I spoke to a mother she was a mother of teenagers. They're both hard of hearing. And she was saying that years back, and like the biggest thing they have learned is that their role is to demonstrate and show people and not use any more words. Because she's like, you're going to talk yourself till the cows come home and you are not going to get your point across unless people experience it, if it is demonstrated for them. And she told me that at an IEP meeting, she turned around and had her back facing the panel of people and was talking to them, continued the conversation with her back turned. And after like one sentence, they said, what are you doing? Like, we're over here. Could you turn around? Everything okay back there? And she was like, you see, it wasn't so easy now, was it? And that was it. That was like her mic drop. And she said that the people in the meeting were like, oh yeah, like, yeah, your children, they answer us when we talk to them. They hear, they speak, but you're saying they need more in a classroom with 25 other kids and background noise and distance from the teacher and all the things, you know. So I think that's, you know, one way of doing that kind of demonstration is to say a clap versus hearing me from the other side of a restaurant. Those are not the same. And so maybe next time you're in a restaurant with mom to actually do that, you know, talk to her while you're eating, while you're chewing and she can't see your mouth, or try and get her to hear you from the next table, things like that. So I think that the more we can educate by demonstrating to our closer family members who are open to that, then that can have a lot of impact. And when it's a very, very close, like I've seen many times in appointments, again, pre-COVID, when you can bring more than one person, but if it's possible to bring that family member, whether it's your spouse or grandma or whoever is having resistance, especially in the beginning, to bring them to an appointment and say to the audiologist, I know this is extra. Can you give me 4 more minutes and just put us in the booth and play the sounds like at the level that they can hear them, and just show them, like have the child play. And then when do they look? And the adult who's there, like that's a very experiential experience event for them to see it with their own eyes. What is the level of hearing? When you show someone an audiogram, they're like X's, O's, paper. What does this mean to me? And think of what it meant to you before you knew anything about audiology, you know? So that's my little advice there. And again, that it's a fig. We come at it from the fig, because you're not going to do that with the familiarity when the person is the cashier at the store. Like, it's just not important. You don't want to invest in this relationship. It's not a relationship. Like, it's just move on. Unless you want to. Again, your decision. That's the point, is to evaluate it, to say, what is my familiarity? What were they trying to say? And what do I want to do? Okay, so somebody, Melinda, wrote, they don't have a hearing loss. They're just not listening. That is so, so hurtful, because it's incredibly invalidating to everything that you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish for them, how much you're working for them. And then to just say, oh, it's behavioral. And that's also, oh no, sorry. My battery wasn't charging this whole time, but we're good. Okay, sorry. Tech issues. When it's being blamed on their behavior and not on the fact that they have a very different need in a classroom. Oh my goodness. I read once a report about a child that line after line after line from the teacher, classroom report, the child doesn't listen during circle time. The child doesn't answer and doesn't come for lunch. In the hallway, the child is always last. When we call them in from recess, they don't come. And it was like, yes. Did you read the first line? The first line that says, this is a hard of hearing child. Like, did you just miss that? And it's tough. It's tough. So yeah, again, a place where we can educate and we can make change in that way. Sarah shares that the booth experience is when it hit home, and he was 4.5 years old. I was convinced he just didn't behave and listen. Here's this. Thank you so much. So powerful, Sarah, because we forget sometimes that we had to do that. As the parent, we went through the denial and the blaming it on behavior and the this isn't real and all of that stuff that you went through maybe in your journey, or the fear or the anxiety, all of those things that are, you're still working through them. That's like the cycle of life that, we worry about our kids, we care for them, we want the best for them. And sometimes we do like the next step, but other people are left in those stages where we kind of move through a little. But again, sorry to pick on spouses here, but I've seen my fair share of dads come in with their, like, the hearing aids in the box for the appointment. And it was like, what? Why are they in the box? when, you know, mom's super on the ball and has got everything going, but that's okay. We got to work through people. I've struggled with my family not understanding that kids is normal with technology. With technology, just because they wear tech doesn't mean they don't need accommodations. Again, yes. The idea that because they wear tech, because they have some hearing or hear in some situations, it's not the same. And I think that giving people, like, do you know that there's a Flintstones video on YouTube that's very common? You can just look up hearing loss Flintstones, and it's like a simulation of what it sounds like, maybe to listen through hearing aids for different levels of hearing loss. And sometimes sending someone that link and just saying, here, listen to this. What is this? How does this sound to you? And doing some of that with people, even to their teacher, even to their, you know, their occupational therapist, that the occupational therapist is having them do flips and turns and things. And, you know, the hearing aids fall out. Like, no, they're not going to hear your directions. So we need to help them understand what they need as well. Okay. I think I just, oh, thank you, Sarah. You found the Flintstones video. One of the things that is very common that I hear a lot is people having this kind of dichotomy, like it's either here or it's there. It's very black and white. You're either in the deaf signing, you know, this is not a problem, there's no loss here perspective. And the other side saying, no, my child is going to speak. They're going to do everything mainstream. They're going to do everything that they can. They're going to be totally normal. There's nothing wrong with them. And I think that the fact that these two things are always on the extremes, they're also very loud. What I love about Hands and Voices, and I love working with so many incredible chapters. You guys are number 5 of the different states. It's really fun. It brings it together. And it says there's not one right thing here. There's not one route everyone needs to go on. That would be impossible, okay? Because every child has their own specific level of need, level of hearing, family history, and every family has different resources, has different availability of programs or trainings, or even people, I'm not sure what the situation is where you are, but maybe you have to travel to a cochlear implant center and that's an 1.5-hour trip or half a day trip. That's days off work. You know, all of that, when we look at what resources you have and what your child needs and what their anatomy is and what their birth history is and what the language in the house is. Again, you come and like just put all these factors one on top of the other. There can't be one right way. That's impossible. But you do need to find what is your right way, what is good for your child and what is good for your family. And that's where advocating comes in, because you are going to hear people who are very firmly, very strongly saying, you need to learn sign, do CIs, AVT, this school, that school. And they're going to tell you that as the most important thing you have to do. And maybe that's right for them. Maybe that worked for their child, or maybe that is their professional opinion. But it's very challenging to say, I'm the parent, and actually you do get final say for what's right for your family. And doing that process in yourself of taking in all the information and then seeing what's right is very hard. So the FIG method comes in, maybe give some context and some, you know, a guideline of how to take in that information. I recently, one more story. I'm going to read your comments in a second. I recently interviewed Janet DeGeorge, the executive director of Hands and Voices. She's so delightful. Her episode is live. Let me show you. Ta-da. I just brought you a couple of examples of podcast episodes, different things we talk about on the podcast. So I spoke with Janet, and she said that in one meeting, she went to a Hands and Voices meeting, in-person one in the olden days. And she said that in the span of 20 minutes in the break, she had one person say, everything is going to be okay, just learn to sign. And another person say, oh, your child is so lucky. You're going to go do hearing aids and they're going to hear so much better because the technology is different from when that person's child was young. And then a third person came and told her, Don't cry. That's ableist. If you cry, then you're discriminating against deaf people. You can't be sad that your child is deaf. And she just said, I came back from the break, just all emotionally crying about all the different things people say. So it's part of the story. It's part of this journey. We need each other for help and guidance and to share what works and what stories have worked for you. But we also need to come back to ourselves and what we need and what our child needs. And the same as we need professionals. We need audiologists, we need surgeons, we need doctors, we need teachers and therapists, but they are not there with your child in the middle of the night, in the playground, on vacation, all the hours you spend with your children. So that is my goal for you. My message for you is to take that on, that goal, that, role, that it's not, oh, here's another thing I have to do now. This other, now I have to learn how to be an advocate. I'm already managing. I'm already running around. I'm already making all the meals and the laundry. Because we're allowed to be overwhelmed. But also we could take the advocacy role and see it as a real opportunity for your own journey, for your own growth. And yes, I hope you're hearing that from love and not at all from a place like, here's another thing you have to do and you better do it right because it's all on you. No, I hear you and I love you. That's my message. Let's read more chats. People at the grocery store get upset when my son doesn't say hi back. They assume that he is slow mentally. Then I have to explain he is hard of hearing. The store causes too much interference with his hearing aids, so he won't wear them in the store. Charity, thank you very much for sharing that. That is so tough. So there's a few ways you could think about this if you would want to change it. Have some support for him. First of all, I don't know how old he is, so that's going to make an impact. But for some people, I know that they have been okay with when they're, children that are old enough, maybe the teenagers. Oh, he's 1. Please. Who's expecting to say hi back from 1-year-olds? I'm sorry, those other people need to move along because babies don't owe you a hello. I mean, no one does, but sorry, I thought you were talking about a teenager, like a big kid, at least school age. He's a baby. Personally, I wouldn't care what anybody thinks about my child for not saying hi to them as a 1-year-old, if that's okay for me to share my personal take on that. But I will finish my sentence about if it is older kids or even adults, they've had a lot of success or, feels good to them to put a button, I read lips or I'm hard of hearing. People even have masks that have that printed on them, like I'm deaf or I'm hard of hearing, I don't hear you. That's kind of a way to navigate that. But Charity, I'm really glad you brought this up because so much of this, it is, it can really hit home to be like, oh, people think that my child isn't responding for this reason when they don't know the full story and they don't understand me. And I wonder if you can sit with that and think about how much it really matters, the people in the store. How much you want to give them, how much you want to give the people in the store power over how you're feeling about your son. I hope it's okay to say that. It's hard to do over chat. You're welcome to join, anybody who wants to pop in. Okay. Yeah. And so Sarah says, then they turn to teenagers and people just think they're rude. I try to tap and point to bring their attention to somebody if I can, but don't make a huge fuss over a missed moment. Yeah, and that's where the FIG method comes into play, is that you're going to make the decision of familiarity. Is this an important person, relationship, environment that I must hear everything? If that was happening at the doctor's office, back to Charity's example, if it's a new doctor and the new doctor is making assessments about your child based on how they're behaving in the clinic, you're going to make sure to advocate, explain, show them records, and make sure that this new doctor knows, here are the diagnoses that this beautiful child carries in their chart, right? And why, what you need to know about them developmentally. It's going to be incredibly important what that doctor thinks, or, the evaluation that they're making compared to people in the store who didn't get a hi. See where that FIG method helps you to like be more focused about what matters and what you're going to do. And the intent, again, let's see the intent of the people at the store who may or may not think whatever they're thinking about your child. They're doing their own shopping. So even if they would say to you, wow, your child is slow, which, hold on, let's take like a whole second over here and say, and there are children with developmental disabilities, and that's okay too. And if this was the group that we were talking about that, then we would, be in that story. But I'm just addressing the way that you wrote the comment. Let's say they even said that to you, then you would say, you're wrong. And you could tell them that this is a hard of hearing child who didn't hear you. You could tell them this is a 1-year-old. Why are you even talking to me? You could move along with your groceries. So then you would know what your goal is, what you want to happen, what you want to come out of this. Okay. Anyone else? I missed some, I think. I'm going back. Oh, I'm looking at Miranda, who writes, I have learned to embrace this journey and put myself in my son's shoes and realize that this is his normal. He does not know anything different. He's 11 months, soon to be a year, but he has come a long way without technology and has recently been fitted with hearing aids and has experienced a new avenue. Thank you, Miranda, for sharing that. It is so true that it is their story and then we have our story. And that's true for all of life, for all of parenting. But we're always stuck in in the question of how much do we do for them, which is, to advocate for them, work for them, help them. And then how much do we do for them instead of them so that they don't have to, like we're always juggling and balancing those two, doing for them, doing for their benefit or doing instead of them. Hear it. Okay, I'm going to read Laura's comment too. I have a 13-year-old son who has multiple disabilities and has both hearing and visual impairments. The school has said that hearing is the least of his concerns when it comes to providing services. He pulls his hearing aids out and refuses to wear them. I am at a loss as he is unable to fully access his world through both hearing and vision. Laura, thank you very much for telling us about your son. And this is a very, very important topic. When the other people involved in his care, in this case, the school, will make the decision for you or for him, what they're going to focus on, what accessibility they're going to take seriously. And I feel that when this happens, it really is time to come in with those advocacy mama arms and bring in support, like get help with the IEP meetings, get help with the the actual laws in your state or about the school, and like get really clear on what you want them to be doing, what's important to happen there. And also have real conversations with the teachers about what are they going to do. Like, why is he pulling them out? Is he only pulling them out in class? Are they putting on really loud sounds? Is he pulling them out all the time? What do you do when he does that at home? Like, to have these conversations together with them and try as much as possible to make people feel like they're on a team with you. That's the ultimate goal, would be so that there wouldn't be a conflict between home and school, but that's not always real life. But, to ask a lot of questions and know, what do you want? If your goal is that he should have his hearing aids in all day, what are the things that you want to happen in order to make that happen? Should the audiologist get involved? Is there a, keeping them in his ear? Is that the issue? Are the molds right? Like what's really going on to help with that? And to talk to them about how they can't really make the decision of hearing is the least of his concerns. That's really a conversation for all of you and for his IEP and what accommodations he's liable for. But that's a tough one. There's a lot of moving pieces in there. Thanks again. Okay, so we have just about 10 more minutes. And what I would be very happy to do is if somebody would like to turn on their mic and be our last example And then if we're talking, you can give even more context. We can see how you can try to fill in the F, the I, and the G for whatever situation you're handling. Anybody? Any brave souls? Otherwise, I'll just tell you more stories. I got a lot.
This is Melinda.
Yes, hi.
Hi. My son Ryan is in first grade. He has a brand new teacher, and she has very little to no experience with kids with hearing loss. He's hard of hearing and wears hearing aids. So what we've been dealing with is my son has behavioral problems as well. So he gets a daily behavioral chart that comes home. And a lot of times it will say that he didn't follow the classroom instructions, or a lot of times if I sit recess, he didn't come to the line when everybody else was called. And so several times I've said, she'll say, well, he heard me. I know he heard me. And my response is, how do you know he heard you? Well, I know he did. Everybody else did. Okay, but how do you know my son heard you? Did he repeat back what you said? Did you ask him to say, what did you hear me say? And the answer is no, she didn't. Well, I don't have time for that, but you need to make time for that. And like, especially in recess, someone needs to go out there and physically get in front of him and say, hey, you've got 2 minutes to get in line, as opposed to everybody come in and let's go. So it's a real struggle. She's a brand new teacher. And we're constantly having little behavioral mishaps because of his hearing loss. So thoughts on that?
Okay. So it sounds like you're already doing a lot of what is amazing to educate her that I know he heard me is not enough. I wonder if you can introduce a visual cue, visual system, like that she needs to hold up a stop sign or like a 2-minute clock, so that there's actually another way that he can get that information. But I love that you said a few things. First, you told us that F, this is his teacher. She's new. It's his teacher for the whole year. And you kind of did the intent as well. Because you said she's new. She might not know about education if she's a new teacher. That's a whole new experience. And for sure about having a hard hearing child in the classroom. So I think you're doing a lot of those great things, because your goal is that it shouldn't be labeled behavioral when it is hearing related. So it sounds to me like you are very clear on all those 3 things, and you're moving forward really beautifully for him. So my advice would be to have a little visual timer thing, or like a sign. I've seen that very successfully in other schools, and to continue with helping her to learn about what it means, because I'm sure that she is learning already what he can have access to and what he can't in the classroom. I hope he's sitting in the front and like having all those other kind of accommodations. But to really when she says, oh, I know he can hear me, that there's a lot of work to do with her education around having a hard of hearing child in the classroom. It sounds to me like you're doing very well. Keep going. Is AI available to everyone with school districts in other states? What's AI?
AI is auditory impairment.
Okay. Gotcha. Anyone else want to bring in their example? Anyone? Okay, so I will say my last thing. Hearing loss does not affect any other normal development, is the one his doctor since birth keeps telling me. Charity, that's amazing. I'm going to add to that. A lot of times people say the line of hearing loss causes language delays. We don't like that one bit. It's not the hearing loss that would cause that. It would be the things that the hearing loss is not giving them access to. So there's this whole middle thing, like language access, whatever form of language that takes, that's what children need for their development. So I'm definitely, there you go. Sarah and I are on the same page. Language access causes language delays. Yes, someone?
Yes, this is Paulina. Can
Please.
you just give a minute because I don't know what happened to the Spanish interpreters. They're not on.
Sure.
This is
Wanted
Michaela. Yeah, this is Michaela. Let's pause a second.
We're here. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, Gina. Yes.
We've been on, and both of us are having an issue. We don't hear anybody. We've been translating this whole time, and I'm not sure if someone is not hearing us.
Paulina, you can't hear the interpretations on the conference line?
This is Paulina. It's right now, we were not listening to them. That's why we were not sure what happened, but we were now.
What happened was we were both translating and neither of us heard the other person. So we don't know who, we couldn't hear each other.
Yes, because we're taking turns, both interpreters, and I reached out to Jean, asked if she could take over interpreting next, and she made me aware that she was interpreting the whole time, and I wasn't aware, so we can't hear each other on the line. There's no sound on the line at all.
Before we could. This only started because I was waiting for her, she was waiting for me, and we didn't realize we were both there.
Okay, so I think we've got it figured out. Is that what I'm understanding? We know what the problem was, so are we good?
No, I still can't hear her. She can't hear me.
Is there?
Are the moms able to hear either one of you? I'm sorry, this is Teresa. Are the moms able to hear anyone on the line?
We're not sure either.
Neither of us stopped interpreting. We just continued, but we weren't sure if anybody else could hear us on the other side. I guess no one could.
This is Paulina. On my side, I could hear some of it. I'm assuming that whoever is connected to the call, the same thing happened for them. But for the last, I would say 2-3 minutes, we were with no sound. Like I didn't know what happened. But in my opinion, as long as one of the interpreters take over for the last couple of minutes, we should be good, because now I'm hearing when they talk.
Okay. I think we don't know which one is doing it, so I guess we'll both interpret, and whoever you hear is the one you hear, because I don't know which one you can hear, because we were both interpreting.
Thank you both so much. I appreciate that. Thanks for checking in, Paulina. Dr. Saperstein?
I'm trying to figure out how to unmute myself. It disappeared. 1 second. Okay, I found it. All right. So, my friends, first of all, thank you very, very much, Michaela and Teresa and the Texas Hands and Voices, for bringing me on today. I absolutely love doing these kinds of talks with moms because I feel that the audiology part of things is very focused on
el programa de manos y voces.
Are very, very focused on the audiology side of things, is very focused on what we need to do in the appointment, right? We need to do testing. We need to test with the device, without the device. We need to do programming and molds and so many technical things that need to happen in an appointment. And of course, I should hope that you have a good relationship with your audiologist and that you feel that they do also address some of the other things that need to come along, you know, helping you to understand the diagnosis, to know your rights, to put you in contact with the other people that can help you on this journey. But that does not always happen. And in the situation of you and your relationship with your audiologist, there can also be a couple of things you can do to feel like you're getting more out of the interactions that you want. Okay, so my one tip that I will share with you, also this one came from Janet, is when you come to the appointment, to make very clear what you think is going to happen today or what you want to happen, because the audiologist has one set of goals, what they need to do. And you might be, oh, I hope they talk about this and maybe they'll give me guidance on that. And lots of times those are two different things. So it's a good idea when they even right at the beginning say, are we doing this and this today? Are we going to check the level? Can you remind me how to change the battery or the tube or whatever it is that you're up to, and to let them know what you need from the appointment today. And sometimes that is, can you please explain their audiogram, even though their diagnosis was 3 years ago? Like, that's okay. You come in and say what you want from them, because they don't know, because they have the things they are thinking of in a very technical and clinical way. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that as my little PSA for audiologists, because in my colleague conversations, they say, we don't have time to, talk to you about advocacy. We don't have time to talk to you about how are you feeling with the diagnosis necessarily, when there's all the other stuff. So that is my mission and why I'm moving away from clinical work to do more of this work, because I really do think it's needed and is so important. And I will invite you to come and join me on the podcast. There are now 62 episodes, so lots of topics. You can search for All About Audiology on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google, whatever, it's all there. And also there is a free download for you, which is the 5-step guide to navigating your child's hearing loss. Might be more relevant to those of you who have children more recently or newly identified, but still anyone can come and take a look at the resources on the website. This one is both in English and in Spanish. You have the link there. And I hope you can remember, my last words is remember your child, look at them, see them, be with them. The goal of everything else that you're doing, all your advocacy and everything, is to connect with them so that they know that they are safe, that they are nurtured, that they are seen, that they can communicate with you. Those are all the real goals, right? Not just to keep their hearing aids in, not just to have good services in class, but it all comes back to what is the actual goal. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm happy to talk to anyone if you want to message me on Instagram, on whatever, I'm around. So happy to connect.
This is Michaela. Dr. Saperstein, we just want to say thank you so very much. You've been just a great presenter for us this morning, and the moms are just so encouraged by you, as is being shared in the chat box. So we really thank you for that. I am going to turn it over to Teresa for our closing comments.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking with us today. I know it's noon and we promise we'll have you out of here in just a few moments, but I know probably what everyone's thinking is, wow, amazing presentation. So thank you, Dr. Saperstein. I am just blown away by everything you shared today. I'm going to have to watch this a couple times over to really absorb everything that you shared. I don't know about you all, but I found today's presentation so moving. I mean, they really hit home for me as a parent. I know Karen's not with us anymore, but we want to give her a big thanks as well. We are so fortunate to have them both present for us today. I hope that everyone found a nugget of information, if not several nuggets, that you can take with you today, and that will help you as you continue on your journey. Maybe take a moment to write down the one thing that you will remember the most about today's presentation. The focus of this event is not just to educate you, but to give you an opportunity to realize how amazing you are and to recognize all the wonderful things that you are doing as moms. We get so busy that we forget to pat ourselves on the back. We do the best that we can. So take a moment, pat yourself on the back, and just realize you are doing the best that you can. We sometimes don't realize how far we've traveled on our journey. And as the parent of a deaf or hard of hearing child, you may not know this yet, but your journey never ends. My grandmother told me when I gave birth to my first child, who, by the way, has autism. So I have two children with different challenges. And that you are a mother from the moment you birth your child until the moment you take your last breath. Eres madre desde el momento en que das a luz a tu hijo hasta el momento en que respiras por última vez. That's what she told me the first time I gave birth to my oldest. That being said, we are here to support you on your journey today, tomorrow, and in the future. Another important takeaway, make friends here today. Like Michaela said earlier, our hope is that you will reach out to each other after today's presentation ends and connect with each other. You can lean on Texas Hands and Voices for support, and more importantly, lean on each other. Connect on our Texas Hands and Voices Facebook page, our Texas Hands and Voices Friends and Families group, Instagram. You can reach out via email, text, whatever works. Visit our website. If you need to request a parent or a deaf and hard of hearing guide, you can request one through our Guide by Your Side program. Or if you're at that point in life with your child, or that point in your journey in which you need an educational advocate, you can request one through our Astra program as well. If you didn't know another mom with a deaf and hard of hearing child before this event, you now know at least 35 moms. So reach out to them if you need that additional support. A big thanks to everyone who made our event possible. We have our ASL interpreters, Vanessa and Catherine, our Spanish interpreters, Adriana and Gina, and our captioner, Julia. I'd like to thank our funding partners for their unwavering support of our programming, Statewide Outreach Center, SOC, and Region 11, all of our members and our private donors. Thank you so much for everything that you do, because we can't do this without your support. Last, a huge thanks to Michaela Hammaker and her team of guides that made all this possible by spending numerous hours planning this event. And I want to give a special thanks to Terry and Paulina yesterday for doing the Spanish interpretation on Friday night for our Painting with a Twist event. Please look for a survey to come in your email. We want your feedback. We want to know if this is the kind of programming that you'd like to see in the future. Let us know what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, and if you want to see more of it. Michaela, do you have anything else you'd like to add before ending today?
This is Michaela. I just want to point out that Karen Putz reached out to me with a free parenting class that she offers through her website, Passion School, and she is offering that to us for free. If you enter the code JOURNEY, you'll be able to access that. I will follow up in an email with that information as well. And to answer Melinda's question, yes, we will be sending an evaluation to you, to your email in a follow-up that you'll be able to send back to us.
All right, well, that is all I have for you all today. Thank you once again, everyone. And thank you for joining us and spending your Friday evening and Saturday morning with us. Thank you, Dr. Saperstein. Once again, I see that you're still on there. We appreciate you so much. And we're done, ladies. And it's 12:06. We can, so signing off. Thank you so much.